Alright guys, in today's video we have some PlayStation news and information to go over. Some good news as well as potentially some disappointing news for those who are fans of the PlayStation Portable or the PlayStation Vita. The first thing we're going to talk about is how PlayStation was awarded the Guinness World Record of best-selling video game console ever. So we're definitely going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about how Hideo Kojima is apparently thinking about maybe making Death Stranding 2, and so we're going to go over his thoughts on that. We're also going to go over the fact that PlayStation 5 pre-order notifications are now available at some retailers, and we are also going to talk about how Jim Ryan has apparently recently went on record confirming, seemingly, that they are no longer really involved in the handheld console gaming business. And while I know that a lot of people are going to be very disappointed to hear that, I think that Sony still has plans for the mobile space. It's just going to be done a little bit differently than maybe some people were hoping. I'm sure a lot of you already know exactly what I'm alluding to. But starting here with the first piece of information, says that thanks to its astronomical success over the years with PlayStation, Sony has received an award from Guinness World Records. The console series has set the record for best-selling video game home console brand ever. From the PlayStation 1, which launched in December 1994 in Japan, up to the PlayStation 4, Sony has sold over 450 million consoles as of November 7th. It's a significant achievement, one that's no doubt helped by the PlayStation 4, which has hit 102.8 million units shipped worldwide as of October 30th. With Black Friday sales and big releases like Death Stranding arriving since then, the total number of shipments is likely higher than reported. So that is an absolutely huge achievement on PlayStation's part. I really am happy to see this because something that I really appreciate about PlayStation as a brand and continue to appreciate with the way they're seemingly handling the PlayStation 5 is that they do care about the console gaming market. I mean, obviously because it's good business for them. They've found a tremendous amount of success, but what Sony seems to be aware of that I really appreciate, at least most of the executives there anyway, there seems to be this type of mindset that kind of permeates the entirety of Sony, at least it seems that way to me, is that they understand that they have carved out a market for themselves, and they're proud of that, as they should be. They worked hard to create the PlayStation console and ensure that that console was going to grow and the market, and they treated it with care, and I think that this is just kind of proof of that. And so it's nice to see them winning, or receiving, I should say, not winning, but receiving this Guinness World Record, because 450 million units is a lot. And you look at that and you realize that console gaming is very, very popular, and it has really grown significantly, and it just makes me really happy to see that Sony continues to put that at the forefront of PlayStation, and we're going to see them continue to do that with PlayStation 5. We all know that Sony's going to become more lenient in some areas, like maybe they're going to start releasing some games on PC. You know, we're already kind of seeing that. We're seeing them kind of lean into that install base a little bit with some titles, and they're probably going to continue to do that going forward. We know that they're going to start, growing PlayStation Now in a more significant way, and they're definitely going to be involved in cloud gaming. They already have been involved, but depending on how they want to handle it, they're probably going to become more involved. And the reason why I'm just mentioning this stuff is because things will change. Obviously things have changed and they're going to continue to change, but something that I think is always, at least for the time being and for the foreseeable future, going to remain at the absolute forefront when it comes to Sony's business practices and their business model is ensuring that nothing is getting in the way of them selling console units. That's what Sony has done well, obviously, for many, many years now, and I'm assuming that they want to continue to do that well going into the future. So, good for you, PlayStation. I'm happy to see this. Definitely some good news. But moving on from that, talking about Death Stranding 2, says here that Death Stranding 2 could happen, but it would need to start from zero. At least that is what Hideo Kojima is saying. So it says here that Death Stranding has been out for nearly a month now, and though it is, to no one's surprise, a divisive game, there's also no denying its ambitions and its unique nature. There's also no doubt that it delivers very well on much of what it sets out to do, and those who have bought into its strengths will probably want more of what Hideo Kojima and his team have crafted here. But while Kojima has talked about the possibility of working on a sequel to Death Stranding a couple of times over the past few months now, you should also be ready that if a sequel were to ever arrive, it would be very different from its predecessor. Speaking with Vulture, Kojima briefly discussed the possibility of working on a Death Stranding 2, saying that if that were to happen, the sequel would start from zero. And though that's all he said on the matter, it's an interesting statement. Kojima not wanting to be restricted by things he's done in previous games while working on a sequel is something that's borne impeccable fruit in the past, so the possibility of a similarly bold experiment in the future is an exciting one. So yeah, I thought that this was important to go over because, Death Stranding is one of these games where we really don't know if we could expect a sequel to it. I will say, and I'm not going to spoil anything here, but for anybody who did complete Death Stranding, you know that it's a pretty straightforward story in the sense of that it has a beginning, middle, and definitive end. There's not really... there are some things that are certainly left to, up to interpretation, but overall I'd say it was a pretty complete package. And speaking about Death Stranding just for a second here, it may make some people laugh to think that, oh yeah, who's going to want a Death Stranding 2? Because obviously there's a lot of people who don't like Death Stranding. There's a lot of people who have been against it. And it's weird to me because I'm kind of addicted to the game right now. I kind of can't stop playing it. Just the other night, I think I spent like 5-6 hours straight playing it, and I just completely lost track of time, and I'm like, wow, I did not expect a game that's literally based around delivering packages to become so addicting. And I think that there's a lot of people who can kind of, back that statement up, where once you really start to get into this game, you realize that there are a lot of mechanics here, and there's just this formula that can become just as addicting as any other game formula that you've played before. So, for me personally, I would love to see a Death Stranding 2, but I'm not going to lie to you. I would be totally cool if Kojima did something completely new and that had nothing to do with Death Stranding, because that's one of the things that made Death Stranding so great, is it wasn't Metal Gear Solid. Some people didn't like that fact, but it was just something new. It was something completely different in many ways. And so, I would be totally up to seeing what Kojima would like to do next. Personally, for me, I'd love to see him tackle a horror game after seeing what, could have potentially been with PT and how amazing that seemingly was, and just the ideas that were there that were never fully fleshed out, that probably still exist there in his mind, and the connections he has within the industry. Obviously, I would absolutely love to see him do a horror game. Maybe that's what Death Stranding 2 could be. Could just be a horror game. He is saying it would start from zero, which is kind of weird because it's almost like, I guess it would be set in the same universe, but it could technically be anything. So who knows? But I just thought you guys would be interested in hearing that. Something else I do want to mention really quickly is how some PlayStation 5 pre-order notification signups have begun. It says that PS5 pre-order notifications are now live for a number of major retailers, including Best Buy, Game, Dustin Home, and Game Mania. So it says, while Sony has yet to lock down a concrete PS5 release date, a report last month suggested the new system will be released November 20th, 2020, alongside Gran Turismo 7. What's more, the price of the console is apparently targeting $500. So that last part there is obviously not confirmed yet, but it does seem like a safe bet. The console will most likely be out in November, and it will most likely launch with Gran Turismo 7. I could see that, and it will most likely be $500. But for those of you who are interested, definitely look into these retailers. Once again, it's Best Buy, Game, Dustin Home, and Game Mania. These are the current retailers, as far as I know here, based off of this information, that are putting their pre-order notifications up. So if you want to be one of the first people to be notified the second you're able to actually pre-order the PlayStation 5 so you can secure that pre-order, you're definitely going to want to do this. I'm probably actually going to have to jump on this. I'd probably do it through Best Buy here, but I don't know. I was kind of thinking maybe getting my PlayStation 5 through Amazon potentially, or maybe even GameStop. But yeah, there you go. Look into those retailers if you want to be notified of that when it actually happens. And the final thing we're going to go over here has to do with the PSP and the PS Vita. And if there's anything that's going to come after that, a lot of people have been hoping for a Vita 2 for a long time now. And unfortunately, it seems as though Jim Ryan may have confirmed, to a lot of PlayStation gamers' dismay, that they're not going to be pursuing this. So it says, will Sony ever make another portable PlayStation? The outlook, according to the company's Magic 8 Ball, looks increasingly unlikely. While the Nintendo Switch is enjoying enormous success primarily due to its handheld functionality, boss Jim Ryan told Game Informer that clearly it's a business we're no longer in now. The executive did have praise for the PS Vita, describing it as brilliant in many ways, but it's a product that the platform holder couldn't find traction with. It's a shame because its initial promise to play console experiences on the go is not massively different to the Switch's main selling point. Unfortunately, the PlayStation maker just couldn't get the concept to stick. So, yeah, that's pretty much what Jim Ryan, the CEO of PlayStation, that's what he had to say when talking to Game Informer about this. And the reason why he was talking to Game Informer, for those who don't know, apparently Game Informer is doing a big cover issue covering PlayStation's 25th anniversary, and they're doing like an oral history, and it's going to be really interesting. I'm actually going to be paying close attention to a lot of the information that comes out of Game Informer, because you're probably going to get some really interesting tidbits about PlayStation's history from its creators and the people that were involved that we currently don't know. So yeah, unfortunately it looks like we're not going to be getting a Vita 2 anytime soon. Believe it or not, there are a lot of people who've been holding out hope that Sony was going to do something similar to what Nintendo has done with the Switch, but with like a PlayStation version. And for me personally, giving my thoughts on this, first of all, I'm understanding of this. Like, it doesn't, in my opinion, make a ton of sense for Sony to be doing this right now, considering that they are focusing on PlayStation Now and cloud. I think what Sony's going to do and how they're going to pursue the mobile market is very similar, or even pretty much just the same, in how Microsoft is doing it with Project X Cloud. The idea that people have smartphones, tablets, they already have these devices, so all you really need to do is find a comfortable way for them to be able to control their games, with a controller or touch controls, which I don't think anybody would want to use it that way. I think most people would want to have a controller of some sort. Them trying to kind of pursue it in this way, and that's how they're going to see, PlayStation gaming in the mobile space going forward. I think that is kind of obvious that's pretty much their plan and how they're going to pursue things going forward. It is a little bit disappointing to think that we're not going to get like dedicated hardware, but I've seen some people talking about like maybe Sony potentially doing something like having a kind of like a controller, almost like a DualShock type controller, but in the middle it's kind of like a big screen, which would literally almost be like a Switch. I don't necessarily know if they would do something like that, even if it was maybe they could, where you're basically just paying for the controller and the screen, and then you connect it to the cloud. I don't know. Maybe that's something they could do, but, a lot of people are upset about this, and it's understandable. Sony really, I think, did find some success in the handheld space with the PlayStation Portable, and then they kind of fell off that. They didn't find the same success that they were hoping for with the Vita, and so their main focus now is probably going to be, how can we get people playing PlayStation on the go, through their current devices. Now, it'll be interesting to see how they pursue this, because it's something that they're going to have to handle with care. They can't jump right into it. We know that Google has kind of jumped right into it in terms of cloud gaming. Didn't work out for them. We know Microsoft is pursuing it, and they're doing it in a much smarter way. So I think Sony's going to be even more hesitant and kind of potentially follow Microsoft's lead on this one, which I don't think is a bad thing. But we'll see. Things could change. It's hard to say. If the Switch continues to do as well as it is doing, and just, doesn't show any signs of slowing down, maybe Sony will reconsider going forward. But that's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you did find it informative. If you did, be sure to leave it a like. It really helps out. Lets me know you guys enjoy the content. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new and haven't already. Hit the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.